Attack my career to set up your payday. Good. Let me hear your story if you have one. Then Hammer concluded by stretching his legs as if this was fun, and even considered sitting down. But I said, "You're not here to listen. You're here to see if your charity was worthwhile, and you know it wasn't. What's irritating is everyone needing this kind of help can't get it. Too expensive to care doesn't make sense." Young man: "Sir, why, with so many doctors, doesn't everyone have at least one? The bitterness of the less deserving didn't fool your family once and shouldn't now. The myth of distribution is bullshit." Hammer said, "There you are, young man. The old dying issue solved by private enterprise's legitimate pursuit of profit. I'm afraid I have to go." I said, "I'm afraid too. Wouldn't want an oral agreement in the lawyer's way." Egging him on still, I said, "Good riddance, Dr. Hammer, because I can't candy coat certain things. You meant well meeting me, but your ulterior motives reek." He should have been gone twice before, but his shrewd streak yet again conjured another conciliatory gesture, phrased to not appear to be running out on legitimate debate. Looking at his autobiography lying on the night table, he said, "I understand. My family believed in socialism, and I lived the American dream." I said, "I read how your family pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, but you want to know what stuck with me?" He said, "I don't care." And because I jumped to the floor, he couldn't open the door since I promised to yell all the way to his car. Sitting back on the side of the bed, I said, "Nice. Trustee money. By all means, protect your reputation. But believe me, I'm glad you're staying to hear what caught my attention in your book. This is worth any amount of money you might have wanted to lay on me. Seriously, I wouldn't touch your money. I'd rather make my own." Taunted, his shackles were up as his status and pride could never allow my defiant attitude headway. He scowled with a noise to tell me I hadn't earned his valuable time. I insisted with my hand he should sit, but he kept his head start at the door. I said, "I read a you between the lines you're hiding from. Though she grew a tough skin like you too, you confided in your mother's early days she was as devoted to socialism as Rosa Luxemburg herself. So noting her devotion, my imagination conjured elements of meaning together, and I think I saw something that happened one day in her kitchen when your pride was gushing after making your first $1,000,000. Dr. Hammer said, "Fine, enough. Many things have been made up about me. Why, I set the record straight in the book. Your 2 cents, however, proved valueless." Then he resorted to hospital tradition by asking me to please stay in bed. I was mistaken getting so involved. "For some reason you're under tremendous strain. Maybe you need more tests. Lay down, please." His mother had touched a vein, so I poked. "Remember when you three teenage Hammer kids were sent away in your teens, when you lived with separate families of socialist comrades? Then you came back home as young adults, and your absences must have relieved a lot of distraction around the house for your parents. But from those years lived elsewhere, I felt an ambivalence toward her that I embraced, and that's when I saw this moment in her kitchen that you must regret." Hammer said, "Don't get personal. You have no right. But I will clarify what is picked at in my family history. Probably that's where your twisted anger is from. It was a coincidence I was home when my father funded the American Communist Party. His less socialist faction voted to become communists, and my father just tried doing the right thing. There were public revelations I suppose you're too young to know, but decades ago, famous former communists were quoted saying my father was an ambitious outsider in commercial society when Jews weren't allowed to be members of the WASP clubs. My father was gregarious and went to meetings to socialize as much as anything else. He saw society should progress while being a businessman. We saw eye to eye in ways my mother and I never could. But don't mock her." I said, "Yes, sir. But however close you weren't, that particular boasting that afternoon, right after you were officially rich in your mother's kitchen, she appreciated your family's advantages through her real memories of people with nothing, making it easier for her to relate to being sad for the poor. But with that million in your pocket, you were feeding off your jazz-age pride. Young Armand's chest must have been puffed out of this world, feeling all that great wealth was all your own. Your father did more than leave you in charge while he was up the river in Ossining State Prison. He made you king of the Hammer family fortune. He made you king of the Hammer family fortune. So you arrogantly laughed at what your mother thought you should share. Even then you had to be a dynasty. I know she learned callousness, but that disillusioning day, after trying to slap you, she cried over her kitchen sink. Yes, it was only money, and now a lot more, but you were accustomed to only comforting yourself, and those distanced years made it hard to comfort her. You must have just stood there. Everyone, doctor, gets caught up in their success, and you asserted yours, laughing at your mother and making her cry. Your claim of benevolence is convenient. You were hard, and why not? You knew business ethics is conquer or be conquered. I think before you decided to exploit a magnanimous gesture with that ambulance to the Soviet Union, linking yourself with history, collecting debts for your father, your laughter made your mother's crying extremely hard on her in her kitchen, while you couldn't help laughing because no one person can change anything, but mothers care. She personally felt suffering you might have read about, while you, with your paved American future of ever-blossoming Bronx opportunity, were distanced from humility. So what if you knew early that the communist dream was impossible? You were just a businessman, but you haven't, as claimed, brought nation-states closer, except to negotiate a better rate for your international phone calls. I may as well say it. It was after Stalin's Bolsheviks killed netmen for having wealth again that you traveled out of town first class, on top, same as in your mother's kitchen. No, you couldn't save the world but pretended to try. Just a back scratcher who made your mother cry.